welcome back to the channel. This is iMac Sports bringing you another football video, and today I'm going over my predictions for the AFC South in the 2020 season. This is the fourth installment of the series. We are officially halfway there. I predicted every single game of the 2020 NFL season, and I've been going through all of my predictions for every game, week by week for every team. This is the fourth week of doing this, so without further ado, today's video we have the Jaguars, and I have the Jaguars going 5-11. So the Jaguars, I really believe in Gardner Minshew. I think he'll have an amazing career, but I don't think that this season is their year. I think that it's great that they have Leonard Fournette back, but I think that their defense is regressing year after year after year, and eventually it's going to catch up with them, and this season I don't think is going to be quite impressive as they were a couple of years ago. I think that the first couple of games of the season are going to be rough because Gardner Minshew, again, is only in his second year. He's not going to have a preseason to prep for the games, and it'll be interesting to see how the season starts off for them, but I don't see anything impressive happening. I think that they'll split with the Colts. I think that they'll take a loss in the first week because I think Philip Rivers will be more prepared for the game, but they will take a win in week 17 against the Colts. Week 2 against the Titans, I think that they're going to lose out against the Titans. This is the only matchup that I have in the entire division where one team loses out. I have the Texans splitting with the Jaguars. I have the Colts splitting with the Jaguars. I have the Titans beating them straight out. 2 wins, 2 losses. I think that the Titans have possibly the best team in the league. I'm not sure whether the Titans or the Texans have the best team in the league. It'll be interesting to see how the season unfolds, but we'll get to those teams later. The Dolphins is the third game of the season, and I think that'll be a win. It'll be Gardner Minshew versus either Tua or Ryan Fitzpatrick. I think Gardner Minshew wins that matchup, especially with the players that he's established over the last season. Then he's against another rookie quarterback in Joe Burrow, and I think that Joe Burrow has this game. It's in Cincinnati. Joe Burrow's been with the team for 4 weeks. AJ Green is still healthy, hopefully, and if AJ Green is still healthy, Joe Burrow's getting into a groove. I think that this is a win for the Bengals and a loss for the Jaguars. I think the Bengals are going to be a little bit better than the Jaguars this year, so especially with home field advantage, this will be a loss for the Jaguars. And then again, they'll lose in Texas against the Texans. I think in Houston will be a hard game for them. I think that even at home against Houston will be a hard game for them, and I don't even know if they're going to win that, but I have them losing in Houston, winning at home, because I wanted the Titans to win the division. I do think that the Texans could easily wipe the Jaguars twice. I just don't think that they'll go 4-12. I don't think the Jaguars will be that bad. Next, I have the Lions, and I think that they'll beat the Lions. I think that the Lions are going to be terrible this year. I know that they can go up and down, but I need to have some team as the worst team in the league in my predictions, and the Lions are the only team that just don't do it for me. They just don't. Next, we have the Chargers. I think that they're going to have a pretty below mediocre season, but I think they can beat the Jaguars at home. Next is the Texans again, and again, I think the Texans could very well win this game, but I have them winning. I have the Jaguars winning because I do want I think the Jaguars will do well, just not really well. I think they'll do okay. I don't think they'll go 4-12, but I think that they can beat the Texans at home. I also have them beating the Browns in Cleveland. I don't have every team in this division beating the Browns, so this is kind of a different prediction for me, but it's because I do want to see the Jaguars do well, and so I think that even if I predict 1 or 2 extra games positive for them, I think that in the long run they're probably going to end up winning 1 or 2 games that they shouldn't have won, and so I think that that's going to be I think that's a good thing for me to do, and I think that they will end up winning one of those games. The Steelers, I believe, will be a loss, and then this whole second half of the season is just so bad for them. I think they're going to lose to the Steelers, the Packers, the Vikings, the Titans, and the Ravens without an issue. I don't think any of those teams will have an issue beating the Jaguars. Ben Roethlisberger and the best defense in the league. Then you have Aaron Rodgers, one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Then you have the Vikings with Dalvin Cook, Kirk Cousins, and another amazing defense. Then you have the Titans with Derrick Henry, who can literally maul their entire team. Then you have Lamar Jackson, the Ravens defense. These are the top teams in the league, except for maybe the Vikings. And the Vikings and the Titans even are borderline top teams. They could even be some of the better teams in the league. We don't know yet. But between the AFC North, the NFC North, and their own division, this is going to be a rough spot for them. They also have to play the Bears, who I don't think are going to have an amazing season, but I think they can beat the Jaguars. And then we have the Colts to finish off the season, and I think that their Jaguars are just going to play their heart out last game of the season, put it all on the line, and they'll get the win on the last game. I do really hope to see the Jaguars do well this season, but I just don't know if it's going to happen. Next is the Colts, who I have going 6-10, just slightly better. I have them splitting with the Jaguars once again. I have them losing to the Vikings. I have them losing to the Bears. I have them beating the Jets, because I think that the AFC East is going to be absolutely garbage, except for the Patriots and the Bills. I think that the Jets and Dolphins are going to be trash. So having the Jaguars beat the Dolphins and the Colts beat the Jets is pretty much what I'm expecting. I think that the Bears are going to take a W in Chicago. Again, I don't think the Bears will have a remarkable season, but I think that they'll be able to beat the Colts in Chicago. And again, like I said, I think Cleveland will have a good season, so I think the Browns will be able to beat the Colts in this situation. I think Baker Mayfield's going to have a better season, but he's still going to be very up and down. He's going to have a lot of good games and a lot of absolutely god-awful, terrible games. So we'll need to watch to see how he ends up progressing throughout the season, but that will be an easy win for the Browns. Next, we have the Bengals and the Lions, two teams that I think are not going to do too great. I've said different things about the Bengals. I think that they will lose this game in Indianapolis. I think that the Lions will lose this game in Detroit. Because, again, I think the Lions are going to be the worst team in the league. You need to have that team that everyone dumps on. I think the Lions are going to go 2-14 or 3-13 or something like that. Because I just don't see it. I don't see anything remarkable on their team. Next, we have the Ravens, who I think are going to take an easy W against the Colts in this matchup. And then the Titans, I think, will split with them. I think that the Titans will win in Tennessee. The Colts will win at home. And I think that the Packers are going to wipe the floor with this Colts team. It'll be Aaron Rodgers versus Phillip Rivers, so I think that Phillip Rivers will have a chance of making it close because he'll want to prove himself against Aaron Rodgers. Phillip Rivers might have a good showing against some of these great teams, but he'll be this close from winning, and then he'll just blow it. That's what's going to happen. He's going to stay in there with Aaron Rodgers the whole game, but he won't be able to beat him because he does have a reputation. He is one of those good quarterbacks. He's just not great. He is a very good starting quarterback, but he is not great like Aaron Rodgers. And I think Aaron Rodgers will have the advantage in that game. He'll have the it factor, and he'll win. Next, I have the Colts splitting with the Texans. I have most teams in this division splitting because usually this division is pretty tight. There have been seasons where this division literally goes 7-9, 8-8, 8-8, and then 9-7. There have been years where 3 of the teams in the division had the same record. This is always a tight-knit division. I think this year we'll see a little bit more spreading apart. But I think that they're still going to have those very, very hardly ingrained divisionary rivalries. They're going to play hard against the other teams in their division, and they're going to be really tough, really dirty, winning, losing games. And I think that they'll split with almost everyone in the division, except I think the Titans will beat out the Jaguars. Next is the Raiders. I think that the Raiders will take the win. This was a change I made last week before I made the AFC West, because I do think that the Raiders will have a good season. I think that the Raiders will have as good a season as the Colts, if not better. Even though the Raiders are in Indianapolis for this game, I think that they'll have a better game, and they'll eventually pull out the victory. Then we have the Texans, who I said they'll split with. Texans will win at home, Colts will win away. And then the Steelers and the Jaguars to finish off the season. They split with the Jaguars, and I don't see the Colts beating the Steelers. Same reason why I don't see them beating the Packers is because I don't see Phillip Rivers beating Ben Roethlisberger, and that's the bottom line. Next, we have the Houston Texans. And since the Texans and the Titans don't really have a main color, I kind of just did them the same way, except backwards. So that's a little fun for you. They're multicolored teams. So we have the Kansas City Chiefs Week 1, which is an easy loss for the Texans. I don't see Deshaun Watson waking up first game of the season saying, I'm going to go beat Patrick Mahomes, and then actually do it. They're in Kansas City. Patrick Mahomes has the advantage there. He's going to win. Next, they're against the Ravens in Houston, and I think that will be a win for the Texans. I think that the Texans are going to have a really weird season. They're going to beat some really weird teams and lose to some really weird teams, because that's just the kind of team that they're going to be. I don't know why. That's just my feeling. I think that they're going to beat the Ravens and the Packers. They're going to lose to the Jaguars, the Colts, and the Browns. I just think they're going to be a super up and down team, a super moody team, and it's going to be all based off of Deshaun Watson and how he decides to do that week. It's going to be a really weird season for them. It's going to be really fun to watch, and I think Deshaun Watson is going to do a great job getting them to the playoffs. Whether or not they'll be the 4th seed or the 5th seed, we don't know. They could even be the 3rd seed, but it's all going to be a toss-up. I think that it'll be between the 4th, the 5th, the 6th, or the 6th seed, though. So, week 3 we have against the Steelers. I think that'll be a loss. I think the Steelers will beat out this entire division. I think the Steelers will go 11-5. This division will go 10-6 or less. But I do believe that the Steelers will lose to the Titans, which I'll go on to later. Now, they move to back home and they play against Minnesota. I think that this will be a win. I think the Vikings have a good team, but I don't think that they'll be able to win in Houston. I also think that they'll split with the Jaguars, they'll split with the Titans, they'll split with the Colts. Then we have the Packers from Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers. And I think this will be a win for Deshaun Watson. I think that the Packers, although they have a much better team than the other teams in this division, I think that the Texans will be able to make out a win here because Deshaun Watson's going to want to prove himself after starting off 3-3. I think it's going to be a very close game. Not amazingly high scoring, but I think it'll be like 24-28, a good solid scoring game with some pretty solid defensive plays. Then we move on to the Jaguars, who they're going to split with, and then the Browns. I think that the Browns are going to be really weird in this division. They're going to win a game, they're going to lose the other 3, and this division is going to be what kills the Browns' chances at the playoffs. Because I do have the Browns going 8-8, and with 3 losses within this singular division, that's going to be a huge blunder on their part. It's going to crack the egg wide open, and they won't be able to make the playoffs. And if they beat, and the Titans and the Texans are the teams they're fighting with for the playoff spot. So if they beat one of these teams, split and go 9-7, and the other one goes 9-7, then they win the tiebreaker because they won head-to-head. So it'll be interesting to watch. And I think that if the Browns win against the Texans or the Titans, they could very easily get that 6th seed. So, and they'll also be fighting with the Bills for the 6th seed. So it'll be interesting to see how that whole mix bubbles up. Then we have the Patriots, who I think will beat the Texans. The Patriots always win in Houston. They've won 2 Super Bowls there. They beat the Texans in Houston almost every time they play. As a Patriots fan, I know this. I know that they do very well in Houston, and I can't wait to see that game. And then the Texans turn things around. I think that they're going to go 5-5 to start off the season. But I think that at the end of the season, they'll go 5-1. They'll beat the Lions, the Colts, the Bears, and the Bengals with no problems at all. They could even beat the Colts twice. They could even go 6-0 to end off the season and end off 11-5. But their front half versus back half of the season are so vastly different that their first half of the season is going to be borderline playoff, and their second half of the season is going to be Super Bowl winning. So they'll be an interesting team to watch in the playoffs if they make it. But I think that their season is going to be very broken up in the middle, and it's going to be interesting to watch how they recover from early depth, like bad, I don't know, from doing bad early. Last but not least, we have the Tennessee Titans. I'm going to try to go a little bit quicker because I know this video is getting a little long and ranty. So, the Titans have the most straightforward schedule. Going against the Broncos, I think that they'll take an easy W there. I don't think that's going to be an issue at all for the Titans. Week 2, you have the Jaguars, who, again, I think they're going to beat out. I don't think they're going to split with the Jaguars. I think that the talent difference is so much different that the Titans will just beat them out. Next is the Vikings, who I think will split with the Titans and the Texans. The Vikings will win at home, they'll lose away. I know that that's a very cliche thing to say, especially because there's not going to be an audience, but I think that that's going to be what's happening, and I think that that's going to be a factor in these final standings of this division. Next, we have the Steelers and the Bills, which I think will both be wins for the Titans. I don't really know for sure who's going to win these games because they are playoff seeding games, and they're going to be very tough games for any team to win. So I am not really sure if the Titans will win both of these games 2 weeks in a row. That being said, I'm not sure if they'll end up with a 10-6 record. I'm being optimistic because I am kind of on the Ryan Tannehill bandwagon. And I think that between Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry, they can beat the Steelers, they can beat the Bills, but I don't know if they will, especially because they have the Texans the week after. The reason why I think that they can win all 3 of these games is because it's 3 home games 3 weeks in a row. If they're on a series of away games, which they end up on later on in the season, then I'll think they'll lose those. So that's why I have them winning in the beginning, because they have a lot of home games in a row. They have 5 home games over the course of 6 games in a row. And then away, they have 5 away games in the course of 7 games. So you'll see why I think they'll do better at home and then worse away, because they'll be on the road for a long time. Next is the Bengals, who I think that they will lose against away. They haven't played an away game in a long time. This will be an upset. I think that the Bengals will finally get some ground moving. Joe Burrow will finally get his groove on, and they'll be able to beat the Titans. And then you have 2 more home games to finish off most of the home games for the season against the Bears and the Colts. I think the Titans will split with the Colts, and the Bears game will be an interesting game to watch, but I don't see the Bears doing much this season, and the Titans should win that easily. And then, in complete opposite fashion of the Texans, the Titans blow it at the end of the season. I think that they're going to be 7-2 and end up 10-6 by the end of the year, because they're going to have 5 home games over the course of 7 games, and they're going to be on a plane every single week for the last 7 weeks of the season. They're going to fly from Baltimore to Indianapolis to Cleveland Baltimore to Indianapolis to Nashville to Jacksonville to Detroit to Green Bay and then to Houston. They're going to be flying every single week. Even though 2 of them are home, they're still flying from somewhere. So I think that these games will be really tough, hard-fought games, and they'll be exhausted by the end of the season. They will not be able to beat the Texans. They will not be able to beat the Packers, and they won't even be able to beat the Colts and the Ravens at the beginning of this stretch of away games. So I think that they're going to have a really tough end of the season, unlike the Texans. And then these 2 teams are going to end up very similar, and it's going to be a very hard battle to see who ends up getting that spot. And that Week 17 game might be the deciding factor, and I think the Texans will win that game. So this division will be a very interesting division to watch. I think that I am very unsure about the Titans and the Texans and how good they really will be. I think that both teams have a floor of around 7-9, 8-8. I think that the Texans could go as high as 12-4. I don't see the Titans going that high. I think the Titans have a ceiling of around 11-5. So it'll be an interesting season to watch, and I hope you guys did enjoy my predictions. If you did, please leave a like down below. It really does help. Subscribe to the channel if you are new, which most of you are. I upload new videos every day. This is the 4th installment of this video, so if you haven't seen the rest of the series, click on the playlist down below. There's also another video that YouTube recommends to you, and a video that is very popular on my channel. So make sure to check out all of those in your spare time if you have the time. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Comment down below who you think will be the best team in this division, and I'll see you guys all tomorrow. Peace out.